time, the chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Oregon, Ms. Hoyle, for 5 minutes. Ms. Hoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all the witnesses for taking the time to travel here today. I think all my colleagues would agree that we need to build more and improve our infrastructure in every corner of our country. Our roads, bridges, even our broadband infrastructure are far behind comparable countries. And on this committee, we should agree that investing in infrastructure brings high-quality jobs and economic growth. I also think we can agree that we can build and develop more while also protecting our environment and tackling climate change. It should be a both-and approach. However, in order to do that, we have to reckon with the fact that under the current permitting system, projects take way too long with a convoluted, burdensome, and non-transparent process. It's why I was proud to work with Representative Garrett Graves to pass legislation to build an online portal so that people, whether in affected communities or developers, could track the process without spending $1,000 an hour for a lawyer, because my constituents can't afford that. Look, we need project sponsors to work with communities to address the issues before beginning the NEPA process. We need public input, environmental safeguards, and also a clearer path to getting to yes or no if a project won't move forward. Waiting 15 years to get a no is not reasonable, and we've had that in my district. We need clarity in these decisions in a reasonable time period, and at some point, we've got to do the hard work of figuring out how to make it easier for the best possible projects to move forward as quickly as possible while prioritizing community, tribal consultation, environmental protections in meaningful ways for communities to have input, building standards to ensure the infrastructure that we're investing in is built with the highest quality workforce with registered apprenticeship utilization to train the next generation of tradesmen and women. And we can do all this if we're willing to have those real conversations in this committee. And that's on Democrats as well as Republicans, but it doesn't mean just gutting everything. So I'd say, Mr. Mergen, I know you've addressed this, but what are the most common causes of project delays?
The most significant cause of project delay is lack of capacity in the agency and agency expertise to process. I do think, I think one of the things that we agree on is that we need more study of this. Not all EISs are prepared by contractors. Some are prepared in-house. Whether contractors are doing the EIS can add to delay, and it can also make it more expeditious. But the fundamental problem is the lack of capacity. And then also you need to have good documents submitted to move forward on, right? And you need to leverage technology. And the portal that you mentioned is an important way. We can come up with these mechanisms like dashboards and the like that alert people to where things are in the project, to obviate the need for them to get lawyers to see where things are going. So it's all of those things.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Campbell, I represent Oregon's 4th Congressional District, mostly rural, has a larger land area than Denmark or Switzerland. And as of last year, there were over 50,000 households in my district that were unserved by broadband. I'm 3 miles outside the city. We got high-speed internet in the end of 2019, and the people up the road from me still don't have it. Never mind Frontier in our much more rural areas. So I think we should be approaching this the same way we did rural electrification. So I'd like to ask you, A, if you were able to successfully use funds for broadband that were included in the IAJA, and how do staffing shortages at federal agencies impact the process to get permitting?
So let me answer the second question. I'm not sure how staffing has impacted it. And we don't do broadband ourselves, but our owners do broadband. And they've taken upon themselves, and they were really requested by the governor to take the lead on serving rural areas with broadband because we've got the poles there. And many of them are doing that. Some of them are just facilitating that with contractors because they really didn't want to get in the broadband business.
And would you agree that it is critical that we get broadband to our rural and frontier communities as the same level of priority that we did with rural electrification and with that same kind of federal investment, interest, and energy?
We do. We as co-ops believe that it's in our interest to facilitate that.
Thank you. I yield my time.
Representative Val Hoyle highlighted the urgent need to modernize America's infrastructure, from roads and bridges to broadband access, so it can meet or exceed the standards of other developed nations. She stressed that it is possible to expand and improve infrastructure while also protecting the environment and addressing climate change, advocating for an approach that does both. She raised concerns over the current permitting process under the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, describing it as too slow, overly complex, and lacking transparency. Hoyle noted that communities and developers often face long delays, with some projects taking over a decade to be denied. To address this, she co-sponsored legislation to create an online portal where stakeholders can track project progress without the burden of costly legal fees. She emphasized that early community engagement, public input, and environmental safeguards must be part of the process, alongside a clear timeline for project approval or rejection. During the discussion, witnesses identified staffing shortages and limited agency expertise as major causes of delays, along with the need for better quality project documentation. Technology tools like dashboards and online tracking systems were suggested as ways to improve efficiency and transparency. Hoyle also underscored the importance of expanding broadband access, particularly in rural areas where tens of thousands of households remain unserved. Drawing parallels to the federal push for rural electrification, she called for the same level of commitment and investment to ensure that all communities, including frontier regions, have access to reliable high-speed internet. Local cooperatives, she noted, are already playing a critical role by using existing infrastructure and partnerships to advance broadband deployment in underserved areas.